This is the My Writing Diary podcast. I'm Bill Wong. Last week I talked about my goals and aspirations and my planning process, where I have to plan every single part of the book, and as I write it, if I realize that a chapter or scene is missing, I add it, with the eye on conflict and also implications and consequences, which are two different things. This week I'll be talking about the prologue. It's interesting that my initial prologue, before my editor had some input on it, was a poem. I had no idea what a prologue was for, and he said, no, he put a big X through it, said, don't do this. And I'm glad that the editor was very honest and set me straight, because this is the first novel I've written, and I really had no idea what I was doing. I'm glad that I wrote a nonfiction book and some poetry, but I didn't understand what a novel, how to write a novel, and what should go into it. It was a very good experience for me. First of all, it is an accomplishment, and everyone who is an author, to finish a manuscript is a huge, big deal. It is so hard to complete a cohesive novel. One of the takeaways I have is that anyone or everyone could write a few sentences or paragraph of very good writing. However, to make it integrated with a scene, a chapter, and a book is incredibly hard. It's almost like writing a piece of software. You ultimately want the piece of software to do one thing only. I don't care if it's to do a Google search, to do some type of communication, but it has to do one thing. People in some ways don't care about the code behind it. In this case, they do care. They do care that it's grammatically correct, that it makes sense, and it flows logically. But it has to be integrated. I believe many authors are very good at writing a few sentences of paragraphs, but to get them integrated within the whole story, which has some meaning. You have to get me to take some of my time, my precious time, and read this book. I read a lot before, during, and after writing my manuscript. I wanted to see how other authors use the tricks of the trade to accomplish their goal. And one thing about writing is it's problem solving. There is a problem you want to solve based on the themes. What does the author want to say? Many times, it is a hard task to try to show an individual what you're trying to say rather than telling them. And when I had my notes back from my editor, he would say, you're telling rather than showing. On the one hand, I wanted to show the mood, to show the conflict, to show the intensity of their situation and make it dramatic. And that was something I found very difficult because I am not a naturally gifted user of the English language. Many of the authors that I listen to, they would say, when I was in middle school, I used to write all the time and I loved doing this and telling stories. I am not that person. My goal of this book was to highlight some of the problems I see in the world, express myself, and in some ways, writing is therapy. In many ways, probably writing has saved me because it made me think about issues which I was struggling with. And by having to put them in words on a piece of paper, it helped me to figure it out and made me a whole person. One of the reasons I wrote this second book was the positives. Even though after the first book, I said I would never write again, the writing experience has been positive. One of the things that I did accomplish, one was writing the manuscript. And I wanted to write a book which no one had written, which needed to be written. And that's my main goal. I was successful. I wrote the book that I wanted to write in the way that I wanted to write. And now my job is to get other people to read it. And it's a challenge. I've reached out to probably 35 or 40 literary agents, and already 5 or 6 or maybe 10 have already declined. I can't take that personally. It might not work for them. This is a military, historical, commercial piece of fiction. I don't know if there's a lot of people who want to touch that because they're trying to find editors to be able to fix and help me with my work. There's structural issues I probably didn't see. My editors pointed them out and I fixed them, but I'm sure there's others. I can't take it personally. In reference to the prologue, there's a lot of dark things I talk about in this book, and I wanted to keep some of it light. And the opening scene is about the dad of the main character and the mother. The mother is pregnant with the main character. It's 6 or 7 months after the Yom Kippur War, which happened in October of 1973. This takes place in Israel in 1973. I didn't want it heavy because I have enough heaviness. The two main characters, one is Israel, who represents old world of Israel. And the new world will be born on this day. Her mom is named Shifra, and she represents love and caring to help them become better versions of themselves. Israel represents analysis, intelligence. When I say intelligence, I don't mean intelligence as far as smarts, but actually he works for the intelligence agency. He is a deputy director of Mossad, which is the Israeli version of the CIA in the United States. And he is duty-bound, where he derives his essence and core from doing a good job and working hard. When I was researching this book, I found that a lot of intelligence agents had to be very careful with what they say, because what they say, what they do, how they express themselves, if it's not in the proper way, it can get other people killed. He's not very expressive. I thought it was interesting to get a man who is not expressive, who has a child who's a woman who needs expression, to force him to become a different individual. And the mom is in the middle, being expressive, trying to encourage and nudge her husband to be more of the type of father that the daughter needs. I love that pulling and nudging of a character to become a better individual, because he's perfectly suited as an intelligence officer in Mossad, but totally ill-suited to become a father. And I wanted to show that, where he can't even drive the car, he can't find the bag going to the hospital, he doesn't see that his wife is ready, waiting for him, and he's trying to find the keys to the car. I love that. The other thing that I wanted to put in, I think that's called a guffin, physical device. And I made up this story where he was working for the intelligence agency during the 1972 Munich Olympics, where 11 Israeli athletes were killed. By him working closely with the German authorities, he became very close. He received as a gift a Walter PPK, which is a German weapon, and inscribed on it is "For the 11," as an honor for the 11 athletes who were killed during the Munich massacre. And that guffin is important throughout the story. On the one hand, it's a weapon of violence, but on the other hand, it's a symbol to remind us why we do our job. In the prologue, on the way to the hospital, there's a bombing. I wanted to talk about some of the terrible things that are happening in the Middle East today, where there's a healthcare crisis. Some odd 50,000 individuals have been killed in Gaza. They don't have healthcare workers. Healthcare workers are being killed. Healthcare services are not being provided to the Palestinians in Gaza. I wanted to talk about that. That why would someone blow up a hospital where they need healthcare services? I think that's ridiculous. I'm going to read just a few passages, then I'll conclude this chapter. I will read the beginning of the prologue. When his eyes stretched open, Israel mumbled, "I couldn't save her." The small bedroom was cramped yet comfortable. Israel laid next to his pregnant wife, Shifra. If Picasso had painted her, he might have done justice to her refined features and radiant, warm, olive-toned complexion. Israel never missed an opportunity to gaze upon her, especially when she did not notice. I wanted to demonstrate that he was looking at her and admired her, but didn't tell her. That's very important, that he doesn't express himself when he should, even though he believes something, because that is central to his character, and over the course of the novel, he has to get more expressive in order to save his daughter and their relationship. I love that. The other part I want to read, if you don't mind, it's my podcast, so I guess I can read whatever I want, is something for the Tom Clancy individuals. Many times when I read novels, I think they're incredibly boring. I want things to happen. I've been reading a number of Pulitzer Prize winners for fiction. Some of them, I enjoy the writing. I don't get through them because it is very difficult to retain my attention. On the one hand, I wanted to write something that had a meaning and had something to say, but I wanted something to happen. The challenge that I have with a lot of these books, things happen so slowly, I get bored because I have a very short attention span. When I researched this section, I actually talked to some military people. And in 1973, they did have a special forces unit called the Unit in Israel. I wanted to talk about the aftermath of blowing up a hospital, how the Israelis would respond. Here it is. Abdullah, he's actually the person who masterminded this blowing up of this brand new hospital. Abdullah was sequestered in a nondescript safe house outside of Gaza for his protection. He and the other Hamas leaders lived and died by the understanding that Israel stood for retribution with a message. One of the reasons I put this in was recently the Israeli Mossad planted explosives in pagers and killed many Hamas leaders. This is a light reference to that killing. One bodyguard guarded the front door, another the rear entrance, and the third stationed upstairs, while his wife, 10-year-old daughter, and 5-year-old son readied for bed. He paced back and forth and stroked his beard so vigorously as to leave a bare trench on his cheek. Across the street, approximately 50 meters away, a 2-man rocket grenade team crouched next to a shattered brick wall. The 1-meter-long, 7-kilogram shoulder-fired weapon was loaded with an anti-personnel fragmentation warhead made of ball bearings. When the firing order was given, the loader gave a firm tap to the gunner's shoulder, and the gunner squeezed the trigger. A loud pop and a hissing whoosh sent the 3-kilogram bottle-shaped, multi-finned mini-missile through the second-story window. Minutes after the explosion, the IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Force, squad searched the rubble and found Abdullah's sand-covered body clutching a handgun. Already dead, the soldiers shot him with an extra burst of machine gun fire. "I don't think a hospital will help you," he smirked. I just wanted to talk about some of the atrocities that are happening with the Israelis. Both sides are equally culpable. One, blowing up a hospital, which is providing healthcare services for not only Israelis, but Palestinians, and then the retribution that the IDF is carrying out in the name of justice. Next week, I'll talk about Chapter 1. This is the My Writing Diary podcast. I'm Bill Wong. See you on the pages.